Hey, my name is Ross Marquand, and I play Red Skull. You are listening to Panels to Pixels podcast. Check it out.
Hey, hold your horses, madam. Not yet.
Uncle Klaus.
Start ignoring the rules of the road, and next the whole world goes to anarchy. Just trust me on this, Claire. And now we go. Quick, fast.
You are such a pussy.
Oh, well, do you have any idea how many pedestrians are killed annually in this country? Watch the puddle. 6,977. That's correct. 1 minute you're alive, and then the next, poof, you're dead forever. That's not what we want, right?
Just want to get home before climate change ends the world as we know it.
Well, yeah. Ew. Secondhand smoke, 3 o'clock. Come over here. Just can stay this side.
You're fine, Uncle Klaus.
Yeah, no, I'm fine. You'll be fine. We'll all be fine.
Hey, panelists, welcome back to the show. I'm Mark.
And I'm Steve.
And this is going to be a spoiler-full podcast about the Umbrella Academy, Season 4, Episode 1, The Unbearable Tragedy of Getting What You Want. Now, honestly, we've been away for a little while. We've done Snowpiercer episodes 1 to 4, which is the final season of Snowpiercer, but now we're at the final season of Umbrella Academy.
Yeah.
But we're playing catch up. We're going to try to do things episodically. Other podcasts are doing this too as well. Our friends at TV Podcast Industries are doing the same thing. So follow them as well. But like I said, we're covering the last season. It's a shame to see it go. It's a great show, but I'm looking forward to seeing it. We're going to be covering episode 1, like I said, but this is going to be really, really fun. The synopsis for this one, Steve?
Yeah. So the synopsis is the family teams up to find a kidnapped Victor while attempting to adjust to normal life. Lila and Five probe a mysterious group called the Keepers.
Very short and sweet for the episode.
Yeah, but it made a lot of sense.
But this is basically the setup for the remainder of the season, or the whole season itself. So we get a few things that are ominous that I like. As we discuss this, the first scene we get is 2 people we've never seen before in the episode. I'm like, wait a minute, that's Megan Mullally and Nick Offerman.
Yeah, Nick Offerman.
It's Ron Swanson. What's he doing here?
Ron Swanson. I loved it. Yeah.
And
Gene and Jean.
Jean and Jean. Her name's Thibodeau and his Thibodeau.
Yeah, Gene and Jean. I loved it. I thought it was great.
We get that they're apparently playing cards at a tournament, a euchre tournament, at some sort of place. I don't know if it's in Canada, but we do eventually see somebody in Canada.
But, Victor's in Nova Scotia.
Yeah, but we see them, and then they're like, "Oh, we have to leave," and then take a minute, and then they go down to a garage, and then they meet up with some shady guy, and you're like, okay. And he opens up and he goes, it's 10,000. And you're like, what? I thought it was, we brought 5,000. So they look at the stuff that this guy has in his suitcase. And then you see something from JFK and it says re-election buttons on a year 2000 t-shirt. So I don't know if the t-shirt was just a regular t-shirt with the year 2000 on it. And then they had the buttons for the re-election. But that was something out of timeline and different. And then you see 2 VHS tapes covers, one with Allie on it, and then another actress on another, but the same title, same kind of get up. So right there sparks interest of these are anomalies of timeline issues.
Right.
So we get that. And then eventually we catch up with the family itself, which is pretty cool because we get Luther, we get Victor. We see Victor first, then we see Luther, then we see Diego, Lila as well. And then,
I love that Lila is included as part of the family. Like she and Diego are married. They're a couple. And I love that fact that there's no beat as in treating Lila like she's not part of the family, which I thought was great.
Yeah, that's what I like too. We get Allie, Klaus, and Five, and then Ben Ben's picked up at a prison.
Yeah.
But we get to see what they do before. Like you said, that Victor is in Nova Scotia, Canada, and I think he owns the bar.
That's what he says. He says that it's his bar. And so, we get that idea that he owns it. I assume the rest of the family is still in Chicago is what it seems like. They give us that kind of fake out with Allison, making us think that she's this great superstar like she was. And we find out that no, she's just doing a commercial where she's on the red carpet, that she's not actually on a red carpet, And so you get this impression that basically everybody is in, not having grown up with the wealth of the Hargreaves.
Mm-hmm.
They
started a new life.
Yeah, well, they don't have, and it's like they started over at that 6 years ago.
Yes.
They had to start everything over with nothing, basically, except for we do know Allison still has her child.
Yes, Claire.
But we don't see her husband, so we don't know what happened there. Luther, and I have this in my notes as well to talk about. Just Luther mentions Sloane, but there's no reaction from him. Like, when we left him, because I rewatched the last episode of season 3 before watching the first episode of season 4 this time, just so I could kind of gain my bearings. And he leaves off at the end of the episode going, "I'm going to go find Sloane," and here we are 6 years later.
Yes,
and he's basically without Sloane, and there doesn't seem to be any kind of reaction to it. So it's going to be interesting to see how much of a backstory they get us, since we do only have 6 episodes.
Yeah.
They've got a lot to fill in. And so whether they're going to try to fill us in.
Yeah.
It's
interesting.
Yeah, because like you mentioned, the fact that Ben is coming out of prison, and he mentions the fact that it's been 3.5 years. Because Luther makes that comment of 4 years, and he's like, well, they give you 6 months off for good behavior. So we know it's been 3.5 years for Ben. We know that Klaus has been sober for 3 years.
Yes.
So something happened 3 to 3.5 years ago to where things changed with the family.
Changed considerably. You got
right.
Luther as a stripper, and doing, of all things, he's the spaceman stripper.
Right.
Diego works as a courier like UPS, but it's called RPS, Ready Priority Shipping. Lila, apparently, we see her setting up the kids' party that has already been mentioned through Victor with the phone call to come for one of their kids, because apparently they have a slew of kids. One of the kids' birthdays.
No, it was so that was Claire's birthday. Wait, not Claire's. Yeah, it was Claire's. No, you're right. I'm sorry. It was one of Diego and Lila's
kids.
It was Grace's
Grace.
Chris.
Yes.
Yeah, Grace's 6th year. So the child that Lila is pregnant with in the last episode of season 3, that's the child that we're talking about.
That's Grace.
Is
yes.
That one would be
from
Grace.
Last season.
Right, from last season. So that's what the 6-year gap gives us, is that in that in-between time, there's been at least 2 more kids birth. It looks like 2 or 3 more. I couldn't tell exactly how many kids they had.
Yeah.
But Allison just still has Claire, and Claire is becoming a teenager, because obviously Claire was, however old she was at the end of season 3. And also it was unclear to me. I didn't get, like, the relationship seemed weird between Allison and the rest of the family, because at first she acts like, nobody wants me to be there. I don't go to any of these parties. But then when they show her at the party, she's like interacting with Grace and like giving her high fives, and like she's always been anti-Allison, so I was kind of unclear on what the deal, what we're supposed to get from that, but maybe it was just supposed to kind of gloss over it. But
I think it was glossing over it, but the fact that we know that Klaus is living with Allison, and he's a complete germaphobe. All attention to like taking care of himself, like even wears a mask at certain points.
He's got surgical gloves on all the time. He's scared of
bubble
everything.
wrap in his basement apartment and Allison's house, and old cautionary tape. He's very concerned about Claire when they're walking. He goes, "Oh no, secondhand smoke, no."
Yeah, he's scared of everything. It's just not. I really hope, like, this is my trepidation about the season itself, is that I don't like this version of the characters we have.
Yeah, because they're too ordinary.
They're not just ordinary, but they're just like they're less than ordinary. They're just like Luther just seems like this sad sack kind of like just managing.
Yeah.
Like Five says, is that the ball? Of all of them, Five seems to be like the only one who's kind of maintained his character.
Yes.
Diego is this kind of he's trying hard not to admit that he's lost a step or two as he's getting older and that he doesn't have his powers anymore. That
and he wants to get into the CIA where Five is too.
Yeah, and it's just that,
which is odd too, because I look at Five and I'm like still seeing him, and he looks still so young, like a kid, and he's in the CIA, which is apparently tracking these keepers, but
they don't care. Like at the very beginning, they tell him to drop it and pick up on his other cases that he's working on, not to keep it, but he's going to stay on. So yeah, I don't like the version that we have of these characters. So I hope it doesn't. Ben is this angry kind of, now obviously it's Sparrow Ben, it's not Umbrella Ben.
Yes, that is the character.
That was something that it's going to be interesting. I wonder if they're going to carry that over because there was a big deal in the last episode about how none of them remembered how Umbrella Ben died. They couldn't remember the mission that he died on. And then like even in this timeline, they get the picture of, when did we save the Eiffel Tower?
Yeah, it was in Paris. They apparently saved the Eiffel Tower. The person that kidnapped Victor within the episode. We said spoilers, everybody. So, but in the very beginning, when by
they're
the
not
time,
listening. Yeah, they shouldn't be listening if they haven't watched the episode already.
Well, yeah, but some people don't bother.
But I'm just saying it didn't. Anyway, go ahead. Yeah,
but
David Cross's daughter, who is great. That's the other big question of the scene. Who is David Cross's daughter?
Exactly.
His daughter had all this stuff.
Trying to be part of the keepers.
Yeah, but she had some of this stuff that the keepers had, and we see some of the stuff that that was from the box. Some of the stuff that he has some of the stuff in that box, like the Love on Loan 2 VHSs are in there. That's from, I don't know if those are supposed to be the same ones from the box that the Jeans took. You know what I'm saying? But it seems like there's some stuff in that box is the stuff that was in that she had stuff from Jean and Jean. So how does that play into, where's David Cross's daughter going to come into this whole thing? So there's a lot of stuff that we've kicked off here. Yeah. That we just don't know. And
it's a lot of questions that hopefully get answered within the next at least 2 episodes that we before it unfolds completely to where the family knows what to do. And what we see them try to provoke into action at the very end, after the party, though. During the party, there's a few things that came up that made me laugh, like Diego and Lila arguing about the piñata. It's like
about East Side, West Side,
West Side piñata. The East Side piñata is
whether she's cheating on it. I thought that was great. Did you get the Yellow Jackets reference about book club?
Yes.
How she's doing book club, and like as soon as she said book club, I was like, is there a book club? There's no book club.
Apparently there isn't, because we see her with Five.
Right. And she says like she's been pretending book club is these keeper meetings she's been going to, or that she's been doing something on the side, because Lila did have a power. Yeah. And I'm assuming she lost that power as well. Even though she wasn't one of the umbrellas, she was one of the children that got powers. But now she doesn't have power anymore, So
she was part of that whole thing that Five was involved with when it came to securing the timelines.
Yeah, she was part of she was like her mother was the whatever she called herself, but apparently in this timeline that's not the case, obviously, because those things didn't happen.
Yes.
So it's a different, but again, it's just I don't like these versions of the characters, so I don't want to. I hope we don't stick with these too long, but at the same time, I'm like, how are they going to get us out of this? So I'm
I think Gene and Jean are the anchor at this point of where, as far as the nemesis of what's going on.
Okay.
The talk about the daughter at this point as well. That particular character is a clue as to why, because now they're sent on this mission, or they're putting themselves on this mission that Five does at the very end, because he grabs the box and he leaves the hibachi restaurant, and he's like basically taking on the case. Ben, oddly enough, took the marigold out of the box.
Take drink from the marigold glass.
He slipped them the shots, I believe.
I thought that, but this on the second watch, I don't think he did. I think they would have shown us that.
It's what he said at the end. He goes, oh, after he pours himself a shot, he drinks it, and he goes, okay. He goes, you guys will learn, or something like that, meaning that I thought, okay, maybe when he handed everybody a shot.
That's what I thought. But then, like I said, when I watched it the second time, I got the impression that he didn't. I thought the same thing. The first time I watched it, I was like, oh, he doctored all the shots with some of the marigold. But then we see him at the end pouring himself a shot of the marigold. So I don't think he gave them. I don't think he slipped them some of the marigold. I think he took it, but he didn't give it to them. Now maybe he did. I don't know. We'll find out in the next episode, I'm sure, if he slipped it to him or not. But it didn't look like there was enough. It looked like there was too much left in that jar. And then if he had slipped all of them, why would he take a separate shot of it himself? That doesn't make sense to me.
It is true. Yeah. We'll find out, I guess, what happens. I think that's pretty much how they're presenting it, that they have to get their powers back anyway, and they got to do whatever they need to.
Well, and we've got to get them to the point where they want their powers back. And of all of them, Ben is the only one who really wants his, Klaus says, he's sober. He doesn't want to go back to having ghosts in his life and all these other things. Luther just seems to be a broken kind of man. Like the only one that really surprised me was Diego, and Diego just kind of went with the consensus. But I really would have expected Diego to be one of the first ones to go, yeah, I want my power. But maybe at the same time, Diego is trying to live this delusion where he hasn't lost his
powers.
Like
yeah,
he's trying
like, he goes, I still know my karate, I know my kung fu and jujitsu, and
he's throwing the packages, and you can see that he's trying to throw the packages with precision, but yet he's like throwing them through windows, he's throwing them against doors. There's no precision to it. He's peeing in a bottle, and it just I don't like I said, I don't like these
They're all
versions.
broken. Is what it is. Yeah.
And Victor doesn't want his powers back. He just wants to go be left alone and go back to his bar in Canada. And I'm just like, okay, so how are we gonna we've got to do something in the next episode that brings these characters back together. Yeah. And Allison the same way. I'm kind of surprised Allison didn't want her powers back, because she seems to be, unless she's trying to live a lie also, that Klaus is kind of perpetuating her living this lie. Well, we've got this big audition tomorrow, and
we got to prep for it. Klaus goes.
and she's like the same way, and it's just, so I don't know if maybe they're living a lie that what they're, I don't know. It just didn't seem. I just didn't like it, and I want the show to resolve it quickly so that we can get to what's going on with Reginald and his wife. We haven't even seen them yet. We've barely seen them. We don't know. We understand.
We figure
out. We saw pictures, and we saw. We know that they're somehow obviously still alive and still doing their thing, and they're still
this version of them. If you think about it, because this is all in a timeline, so we don't even know.
Yes and no, but the whole thing. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say somebody actually at the that meeting. It's kind of like a group meeting that Five was infiltrating. Talked about Reginald Hargreaves being an alien,
right?
For the
right,
keepers.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Is
is this one really an alien? Is the question to me.
Oh, absolutely. I think the Reginald Hargraves we have in this timeline is the one who reset everything, because this his whole thing about resetting everything was to get his wife back. That was the whole reason why,
Okay.
in episode 5 or 6 of season 3, that they showed the his wife was up on the moon in that suspended animation thing
Yes, I
for
forgot
however
about
long
that.
she's
Yeah.
been up there.
Mhm.
That everything he was doing through season 3 was to get her back, because that was why they're at the end of season 3 they're holding hands and at the top of the Hargreaves Tower,
And the tower
and
itself.
so
Yeah, they're
I
looking
think
over.
all of it was to get her back to him. So yeah, so this version of him
Hmm.
has her. This version of him never, like I said, they reset the timeline to where he got her back, and so all the things he did, it's weird. It's confusing, and we're
It
gonna have
is
to see
confusing.
how they explain it throughout the rest of the season, and in the series, how they end the series.
Well,
I don't.
yeah, they did talk about at the Keeper gathering that we find out Lila's there, and so is Five, and she's
Mhm.
undercover. She's doing these things to get out there to get away from her boring, you know, m- being the mother at home kind of
Mhm.
character that she's been with Diego and the kids.
Well,
So it's
like she
her.
says in her
Yeah,
quote, and I don't have the quote because I didn't write any quotes down, but
me
she says,
neither.
"I went from being a full-time assassin to being a full-time mom," and so I almost was waiting to see who her target was, if she's taken up the
Yeah, that's what I thought.
assassination thing
Yeah.
again, there, but
But Gene and
no,
Gene
if she,
talk they talk about it in the meeting about this cleanse,
mhm.
and and then they asked about it because they got called out because they were talking in the background,
Right.
Five and Lila, and they're like, oh, excuse me. It's like, oh, well, we want more clarification what this cleanse is about. And Gene starts saying, the cleanse is the end, and then nope, then he gets hushed up by the other Gene, and then
Right.
she says, then she goes, it's stating it's more of a restoration of the timeline
Hmm.
of like fixing everything, like because they call it the umbrella effect, which pretty much is what Five is basically coined things over the past few seasons anyway.
Right.
And they're trying to fix all the stuff that they created, because throughout all them doing this over the timelines have screwed everything up. So you could look at Gene and Gene as the bitter enemies or the evildoers in the show, or the good guys trying to correct everything to put everything back to completely normal, and the family being the villains at this point. But we all root for the Umbrella family, though.
Yeah, yeah. It's all, like I said. It's all gonna be revealed over. Everything was kind of set up in this first episode.
Yeah.
As far as what we're looking at, what we're gonna see happening here in the future, and so I'm like I said, I've got a little bit of hesitation
Mhm.
about it, because they're only 6 episodes. How are they going to wrap everything up in a satisfactory? Obviously, it's not going to be a neat little package, but how are they going to wrap everything up in a satisfactory
Yeah.
ending without just blowing the universe up? I don't know. I'm part of me wonders if that's going to be the end. Is
I think it
it's
might be the end of them as a family, and that's what corrects everything. But
Yeah,
that could be just me.
I don't know. I'm excited and hesitant at the same time to
That's
see
why we
what
watch these episode by episode.
exactly to see what's going on and to see how they're going to do it. Um, yeah, let's anything else?
The only thing
Talk
I
about.
have far as notes is some things that I pulled off from
Mhm.
another site and things that
Yeah.
I've read. There's a fan theory out there, a fan theory time. Basically, in previous seasons, the Umbrella Academy has dropped occasional vague references to a Jennifer incident. And could the still unrevealed true story behind that misadventure be connected to Cy Grossman's daughter, which was the guy
Hmm.
who actually kidnapped Victor and asked them
Right.
to take on this kind of challenge, which I saw and I thought that is pretty cool, because
Right.
that's going back. It's like,
Mhm.
hey, comic readers, you got to go back to issue number 273, and we're in 578. So
Right.
I think that's pretty cool. But
well, just like I said at the beginning, when they talk about in season 3, they talked about the fact that they don't know, none of them actually remembers the mission where Ben died.
yeah,
You know, or
and
what the details.
that was a huge detail throughout the first 3
Several
seasons.
seasons. Yeah. So the fact that we've just dropped that completely now because we have a version of Ben back is a little interest is going to be interesting to see how that plays out. And then, like you said, like I said, this Eiffel Tower mission that they don't remember being in there somewhere. So there's things that we're going to have to see that I'm interested to find out. You know, what happened 6 years ago? How did they? You know, why did Luther stop looking for Sloane? What's happening with Allison's husband? All these things that we've got to see where it's going to go, and I'm interested to hear what other people have to say about it. I haven't listened or looked at anything online as far as what's going to happen. So,
one cool fact, which I don't think they kind of pointed out, that this is during Christmas time around this, except for the opening scene where they play
with the Santa baby, right?
Yeah, that was Eartha Kitt's version of Santa Baby.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I didn't pick up on that it was Christmas time, but that makes sense. It's winter. You know, they're showing the snow on the ground. Is again, we're in Chicago, so that makes sense.
Yeah, what I got from somebody's like notes about what they were talking about within this particular episode, they say the various timeline artifacts double as Easter eggs for the fans of the show, including like Hazel's dog mask from season 1. That was that big, huge one.
Right. The pig mask, right. Yeah. Or dog mask, the pig mask, right.
Yep. Victor's autobiography. Extraordinary, My Life as a Number 7.
Right. Okay.
And of course, the VHS copy of the second installment from Allison's horrible looking movie franchise, Love on Loan.
Right.
So, they also talk about the Eiffel Tower incident, the direct reference, very first issue of the Umbrella Academy comic, apparently.
Oh, is that what that does?
So that's where it's in reference to. And they just threw in this quote, which is always funny. It's because Luther goes ape, so to speak, on the pinatas when the kids couldn't break the pinata. Oh. Get it?
I get
gorilla body. But he goes, it's like Diego going, East Side pinatas are notoriously for their difficulty. I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Yeah. But that's about it. That's all I have from that. As far as my notes, my thoughts, I did enjoy the episode overall. It made me intrigued. Like you said, characters are a little bit different in comparison to what we knew. There's kind of a forgetfulness of who they were at one point. But now I think with that whole Marigold container and then Ben taking a shot, and like I said, I speculate that he might have slipped them a shot, that they might get their powers back, and they might come around to that moment of once they have their powers back, they could be who they are again and shed who they are.
Right.
Because you could see Diego feeling the power and be able to do that. Definitely 5 jumping as he used to. And I could see Luther feeling a little bit more stronger because I don't know. I think Tom Hopper's a handsome dude. He's got a great body and physique, but a lot of women that there's a bunch of women that I know that I talked about, they're like, we don't find him attractive at all. I'm like, okay, I guess not. I was like, I don't know, but he'll get his gorilla form back and he'll have the strength that he always had.
Yeah. So we'll have to see going forward what happens. So,
yep. But other than that, the only news or information that I have that I found out or I looked at was if you watch Hot Ones at Last We Feast or Once We Feast, and they had Tom Hopper on and Robert Sheehan, who plays Klaus, on there, and they do a truth or lie
Oh,
competition together. So I highly recommend it. You can find it on YouTube. They do a lot of these. When Deadpool Wolverine was being exploded into the theater and press and everything, Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds did a variety of these as well.
right.
But they did this for the Umbrella Academy as well. And I thought this one was pretty cool because you get to really know who they are and how close they are on set, because they just talk about reminiscing and how they feel about each other on it. And,
Nice.
And you have somebody who's English and the other one Irish. So it was pretty cool. So I highly recommend that. All you have to do is look for Hot Ones on YouTube and you can check that out. But other than that, that's all I have for this episode. What about you, Steve?
That's all I got.
All right.
Just a short one and a quick one. Next week we'll do episode 2.
Yeah, we're going to be covering episode 2. We'll put that out and we'll tell you now and how to submit your feedback. We did put something up there for you guys to put out some sort of feedback with, but if you haven't sent it to me, let me know. You could just easily go to our Facebook page, which would be facebook.com/panels to pixels. Like I said, I put an image, tell you what episode we're covering. Just leave them in the comments below on there. Mm-hmm. Or you could just, and it actually works as well because Instagram immediately puts out the same thing because it's pretty much the same thing, same post. So we're on Instagram at Panels to Pixels Podcast. So find that there. You could email us and you just send the email to panels2pixels1@gmail. That's panels, 2 is spelled out TO, pixels, and the number 1@gmail.com. You could send us a regular written out email. Or if you want, you know, everybody has a phone, has a tablet, has a computer. Everybody usually has microphones and headphones nowadays. Easily record yourself and just send it through the Gmail link and I'll be able to play it. And you could be as if you're part of the podcast.
Nice.
And that's how you could get in touch with us. Even if there's suggestions of what you want us to cover too, as well. It's not just about, you know, what we're covering now, but what you would like us to cover later on if you're interested. But that's about it. Like I said, next week we'll be covering what Steve and I will be doing Umbrella Academy. Rebecca and I will be covering Snowpiercer, and whoever else wants to jump in and have fun with that. I know, Steve, you're behind on the new season.
I'm a little behind. I'll try to get caught up. Maybe we can get scheduled out to do it.
Yeah. But other than that, that's our episode. And I just want to thank everybody for listening. I'm Mark.
And I'm Steve.
Different panel, different pixels. This was Panels to Pixels Podcast, and we'll see you on the next panel. Good night, everybody.
Good night.